What is up, Troy, man? How you
What's
doing?
going on, Scotty Body?
Oh, just chilling and actually chilling literally in Nashville, man. You in sunny Cali, nice and warm.
Yeah, it's a
Hopefully
little
no
cold, man.
fires nearby,
46
brother.
degrees this morning here in SoCal.
Oh yeah, super nice, man.
No
So
sun though.
listen,
It's sunny blue skies. It'll be 74 here in a little bit.
you suck. I mean, yeah, it's great to hear that. So hey, I got a question for you. Kind of
Okay.
off the wall, but inquiring minds want to know. If you were invited to a dinner, or you had four people to invite to a dinner party, anybody, dead or alive, history, whatever, who would you invite and why?
Man, that's a tough one. Oh, jeez. Uh, I'm inviting JFK. I'm inviting Martin Luther King. Kind of a theme there, I guess. I'm inviting Danny Meyer and Will Gadara.
Dude, that's a that.
Yeah, a little
Wow.
hospitality, little how to run the world and make it a better place all at one time. Although I would say that Danny and Will are in that genre of
So who
make the world
sits
a better
next to
place.
who in that? Like, if you're having the seating chart laid out, who's next to each other?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I probably have Will on one side and um Martin Luther King on my other side and the other two across from me.
Sweet. I
I
like
want
it.
them both to whisper in my ear.
Yeah, I know, of course,
Yeah.
right? That's awesome, man. That's awesome. What kind of
All right,
restaurant?
well, I got
Oh, you
one
got
for
one for
you.
me? Okay, okay, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I got one for you. Uh, you and I are going to find ourselves at the bar quite typically
Yep.
at according to our notes, the greatest restaurant conference on earth in September in Atlanta. And I ask you to grab me a drink. This is a gotcha question. What do you think I'd want you to order and why?
So, or is it 9 a.m. or is it 1 p.m.?
No, it's
Because it
not a
really
mimosa.
matters. So
Not
we
a
tagged it.
mimosa. It's
So if it's
it's
9, if it
it's
was before 11 a.m., it's probably champagne and
it's
some.
3 p.m. It's the beginning of happy hour.
Ooh, I'd say depending if we had a big day the next day, it could be a skinny marg or it could be an old fashioned, maybe a smoked old fashioned.
Wow. Okay. You are wrong, but that's okay.
Okay.
I forgive you. I
Oh my
forgive you.
goodness. All right.
I'm
So
a
what should I?
vodka guy.
Okay. Well, yeah, yeah, I knew that, but I was
Vodka
thinking
Sprite
something.
if we're
Vodka
going
Sprite.
easy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if we're
Vodka Sprite.
ready to rock and roll, then I'll take a Belvedere martini dirty, baby.
Dude, damn. Well, I knew that, but I was thinking of trying to be exotic. Yeah, I knew you were a vodka. And I know the Sprite thing too. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
All right. So, um, you uh, had the unique task of taking a very large, well-known global brand. So, dude, what a very cool deal, like with Pepper Lunch, like and all the things you're doing and growing. And so, first off, how did it happen? That how did everything kind of come together? And what advice would you give to an entrepreneur looking to evolve a brand in today's restaurant landscape?
Yeah, good question. I did a podcast, not unlike this, that led to the discovery of a friend of a friend. So, Mr. Stephen Hooper Jr. from Seattle and I got to know each other a little bit. And a few months later, his former classmate from his MBA program at Dartmouth, nonetheless. Good job, Stephen Hooper.
Yes.
Yuto Tago, Mr. Tago-san, was introduced to me to help him potentially lead Pepper Lunch here in North America. And under some variable circumstances, he needed to go to Singapore and run the APAC operation there back then. And so he asked me after a meeting to come lead the organization and help him grow the brand globally, as a team and put some people together and put the processes together and get this thing going. And that was exactly 2 years ago and 9 days, September 1st,
Congratulations, by the
2023.
way. That was
Yeah, I
awesome.
kicked it off. So we met in late September of 22, early October, and took a couple of months getting to know each other. And we helped them from a consulting standpoint create a 3 year feasibility study and go to market plan and a budget. And when they saw that, they just realized that they really didn't know from Japan or Singapore really how to launch a brand in the United States, really how to take a really well-known concept outside the U.S. and grow it here. And so they asked us to create a team and come on and form the leadership. And it's been quite a ride. I tell people recently, I got an EIN number and a really bad FDD on day one. And, within 5 months, we were offering franchises, and 3 months after that, we had sold our first 10-unit deal. So we really hit the ground running pretty hard. And I always say that, basically we've been building this ship while we're driving it, right? Or building the plane while we're flying it. Because quite literally, we have been. And so it's been a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And just this past week, officially on Friday, we had our grand opening of our very first brand new prototype store here in the United States since we joined the company in Irvine, California. And that's our second store in Irvine, which is exciting. And we had over 700 people on grand opening day come through. So,
Wow,
yeah,
dude.
kind of nuts, by the way. So,
That's awesome.
a lot of
Well, I
fun.
would say what you left out was that you're like a massive promoter. So not only awesome
Yeah.
leader, stuff nuts and bolts together, but like you get the word out better than anybody. Just like
Well, yeah, our franchisee did a great job too. They
yeah,
actually own a media company as well. But, my advice to entrepreneurs, and I've been doing this a long time, I formed a consulting practice that helps emerging brand founders develop their infrastructure, develop their plan, and have the systems they need to scale their brand. And in that vein, the very first piece of advice I give, and this is not self gratification or self promoting, but it's get help. And it doesn't have to be a paid consultant. Get help. Look, there's people like you and me and many of our friends in the industry that are happy to give advice, become an advisor, join the advisory board, or potentially even invest small and become active board member or partner. But there's lots of advice out there, and the biggest failure point I see for entrepreneurs early in their days is they know they've got something, they've got that 3, 5, 10 stores under their belt. They kind of gone out over their skis. They've outgrown their knowledge base, and they need help. And a lot of them, unfortunately, find bad help. They think it's cheap help, and they blow a lot of money getting okay advice, bad advice, less than they pay for usually. But the reality is there's lots of us out there. Go to these conferences like the one like QSR Evolution and Next in September in Atlanta, or others like it, and come talk to us, right? Listen to these topics around areas you don't know much about or you need to know more about, and then grab us on the side and ask those other questions. Connect with us after the show. But you're not going to do this alone. You're not going to scale a brand by yourself. You might get to 10, you might get to 15, maybe if you're super lucky you get to 20 or 25, but the reality is that took a lot of people to get you there. And if you really want to scale at speed and improve the quality of your brand and your operations, you're going to need some really serious help. And whether you pay for it or you give away equity or you take investors that are strategic investors, that's really what you got to do.
that's awesome. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So similarly, Scott, you're a little newer to this new gig of yours than I am, but not by much. So you recently joined, a multi-concept platform as the CEO. So what are some of the challenges, realities, learnings of operating a group with multiple brands? Right, I've currently got one brand. How do you balance your innovation, your time, your resources, and everything as it takes to grow all the teams and grow these brands across really a diverse collection of concepts? How are you knocking that out?
Yeah, so dude, great question. And it's been fun. And so for me, getting into this and, having been on the other side of private equity, having been invested in, acquired, bought, sold, whatever, there tends to be a blanket approach of like, hey, let's just one way to do it. That there's money being invested, just simpler to learn our way versus taking the time to understand the brand DNA and specifics. So, early on for me, I was like, man, uh, I don't want to homogenize because these brands are all unique. And so, whether it was Live Eat Serve, whether it was Trudy's, whether it was Cajun Steamer, whether it was Party Foul, whether it was some of the other brands we're bringing on board or working with, it was like they're all unique. The needs, demands are different. And so, making sure there was a gatekeeper in place that really protected the brand's integrity. So, simple as like, yeah, let's look at supply chain. How can we buy tortillas better across the board? Or how can we buy this better across the board? I can remember having a conversation with one of the brand leaders who'd really found the right roasted tomato for their salsa. And I'm like, a lot of like three of the other brands use roasted tomatoes, but like Like, this is the one I want. It's specific to me. I'm like, dude, we're not messing with your tomato. Like, we couldn't go back and say, hey, let's just leverage everything because once again, it gets vanilla. Nobody likes vanilla yogurt. Everybody puts stuff in it. So that was probably number one. Number two, depending on where the brand was at. So, in our portfolio, there's brands that are just crushing it, killing it, opening restaurants. So the focus is about building team, looking at a manpower plan, trying to get ahead of the need. What percentage is homegrown talent versus pulling people off the street so you don't dilute the culture. Another situation, we acquired a brand out of bankruptcy. And so you've got a brand where the team is down, they've been dragged through the mud in the press, and you got to get in there and say, hey, like, you don't suck. You're great. Unfortunately, you're a product of a bad situation, maybe, a growth model with a founder that kind of went out too fast. Let's take a minute, go back and evaluate where we're at and realize that we're freaking awesome. And let's go back and just leverage in the scenario of party foul, this party's in the name. Let's go back and make sure that we're having a good time every day. And Nashville hot chicken, boozy slushies, cold beer, that's party foul, right? But you've got to change the mindset. So the approach is different. I think, like you said, getting advice from people. Oh my God, I will listen and absorb anything from everybody. You've been a phenomenal sounding board mentor with me too, brother, and talk me off the ledge on things when I'm like ready to jump. But I think the approach is different. It's actually a lot of fun to get the synergy together. And then I always thought, man, when you get these leaders in, you almost create kind of this mini YPO where we may be different brands, but all of these brands share similar issues from operating a full service restaurant in our case. So let's just talk about that on a monthly basis, share ideas. Like I said, you could be in growth mode, you could be in triage, you could be in restructure mode, you could be getting ready to franchise, we could be dealing with airport licensees, whatever it may be. We're still dealing with people, we're dealing with culture, we're dealing with product, we're dealing with consistency every day. And so I think it's been leveraging the team within the brands, not trying to like make everything the same and push down. It's been more of like a push up and listen, learn, and then, like curate the approach based on the need versus what's easier for me. It's much better for me to deliver what's needed versus what I think I can do more efficiently. Does that make sense?
That's why you're the man. Yeah, look, I love
Cool.
the comment about us all talking together and getting together and checking in with each other. I'm going to learn something from what you're pulling, and I might see a post from you on LinkedIn or something, an ad from one of your brands, and ping you and say, "Hey, that's really cool. Where'd you come up with that, or how's that working out?" Or because that approach or that concept, although it might be specific to your brand in the exact way it's executing, just the idea of it could be something that inspires something in us that we could go back to the drawing board and think up our version of it, right? And that doesn't hurt you, right? I'm not nothing I do is going to take away from your brand and vice versa. People either want my type of food and service experience at that moment, or they want your type of food and your service experience, or they're just not even in the same markets. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I just think that cross mentorship, cross collaboration, sharing of best practices and what's working. I know we get together a lot in these groups and these shows, and you hear a lot about the challenges. Like, all right, commiserate. We're all down in traffic, and we're all up in this, and we're all struggling with that. And okay, that's great because some people are solving pieces of that are going to accelerate one of us solving it too. But also, what about the good stuff? Like, what about the
Yeah.
best practices that are and internal and external? I mean, you're known as an absolute legend in the culture building business, and you said it there. Like, that's your job, is to make sure each one of these brands has its own culture, right? Its own identity. And that's something that has to be evolved and thought through pretty well. At Pepper Lunch, we're brand new to North America basically, and so we have to create that. We have to develop what that voice is and how we communicate that. And for us, we're trying a lot of things, and we're asking a lot of questions, and we're asking our employees at the stores, our franchise partners, and our consumers to tell us what matters to them. What do they like? What do they want to see more of? And then trying to get those employees to sort of bite into that pretty deep.
Dude, no, that's it. It's funny. People are listening to what we're saying today, so hopefully you're getting a nugget or two. But I think what you just said, like, hey, we're down in traffic. If you're down, like, don't lie. Like, you're
Right.
down, you're down. Guess what? A lot of people are down. If
Yeah.
you just like, there's no judgment zone. Like, I always look at like we're stronger together. Restaurant, whether it's full service, fast food, quick serve, the restaurant industry is one big unit, and like we're just stronger together. And man, I can remember like COVID seemed like it was a millennium ago, but not really. But I can remember reaching out to a competitor of ours at Walk-Ons because they were doing Furlough Kitchen. Randy DeWitt and his group in Dallas. I'm like, hey man, I don't want to steal your idea. It's awesome, but can we like partner with you because I need to get my people to work too. And like we had I can remember having a Zoom with his marketing team and our marketing team, and I'm like, we would never be on a Zoom talking to like we're competitors, but I was like, let's just win together. And so I've always thought like it's not even about if your customer was my customer, like they're not eating your place every day and not eating my place every day. Let's just make sure they eat out,
Yeah.
and that we just continue to drive the idea of eating out versus eating at home. So kind of ties into the next question I had for you. So, when you're looking to build your team, and like I love, and you announce, hey, so and so is the new guy driving franchise development. Like you're a promoter, man. You're a culture dude too, brother. That's why we get along. When you're interviewing, hiring corporate team for Pepper Lunch, what are some of the things you look for? What kind of questions you ask? How do you figure out if they're going to be a good culture fit? Because I think everybody wants to have great culture, and then you bring in that one person, like, oof, the resume was great, but ooh,
Been through
you
it.
avoid
Already
that,
been through
right?
it. Yep. In less than a year, we had to make one change, unfortunately. But yeah, look, for me, yeah, I'll comment from where I came from with Pepper Lunch, and then a little bit about how I would do this in sort of an emerging brand environment that already has some founder team on it. But at Pepper Lunch, I had to get going really quickly, and so I had to lean on known quantity, right? I had to go get a couple of people that I knew, I had worked with, I had done a lot of things with before, or I had seen and experienced their work product because I needed to get going fast, and so Mark Bailey, my COO, we were partners at our consulting group before. We've done projects together. That's a no-brainer. He's a workhorse. He's going to just knock it out from day one. No training necessary, right? Here's what we're doing. Go. Jonathan on our team is our technology specialist. He's also driving the creative because much of basically all of our creative is really digitally and technology driven creative production. So he's doing both of those. I've worked with him on multiple projects. And then I went and got Dana, who's our head of real estate and construction. I had worked with her on a project where I'd seen her managing 10 builds at once, and she could catch the difference if the freaking nut that was sent in the bag was right or wrong on the back of a refrigerator. I mean, just incredibly detail oriented on the build out process and understanding what works and what doesn't work from a design standpoint. So, about a third of our team were people I already knew and worked with. And then, yeah, we had to sort of do our homework and who's right for this brand, who's right for this project. For Pepper Lunch, it was going to be a very lean team. We've got 9 of us. We're going to add the 10th, and that'll be sort of the final leader as the director of marketing coming out soon. We're in that search process now, but basically, there's 9 of us for the last year and a half to 2 years, and we had to sort of do our homework. So I'll tell you what I did is I started asking people like you. I started asking other people in the industry, putting the word out and putting the word out across the cohort of the people I wanted. So if I was looking for the sales guy, I started talking to other salespeople, right? And so that's how I found Paul. I was familiar with Paul, aware of Paul from a distance, but I knew a lot of people that knew Paul. So I started asking them, hey, is Paul all of that in a bag of chips too? Like, is he really what it seems like from a distance? And got a lot of positive feedback about him, just not only his performance, but his approach, his reputation, his acumen and knowledge. So, I asked a bunch of people and then I approached them. They didn't know that I had done a lot of homework on them before I approached them, but then I approached them. So about the second third of our group were people that I had known of or heard about and did some homework on them and then approached them and had some pretty long conversations. And I'll say this, the most important thing is that all stakeholders are involved, right? Every hire we've made at the corporate level, everybody on the team has met with, interviewed, conversated, known. All of my team have done their own due diligence and asked all their friends in the industry about that person. So just a lot of making sure. And then, you got to be very honest when you talk to these folks. For me, there's two aspects. One, when you're asking questions, you got to be really honest about setting expectations of what it is you're walking into. This is not, whether I walk into Yum tomorrow or one of your emerging brands or start my own, it's a different thing every time. It's not the job title does not equal the work. And in this case, I needed people that could roll up their hands, work a ton of hours, be highly productive, highly focused, because we were setting a really high bar. So being honest with them about what's really going to be like when they get here and what the culture and what my expectations are, and then letting them ask their questions. I start every interview with, this is a 2 week conversation. This is a first date. You got to like me as much as I like you, and you got to want this job as much as I want you to want. It's got to be a 2 way street. So be ready. I expect you to ask questions. I expect you to put me on the hot seat. If I don't feel a little pressure to give you the right answers, this isn't going to work. So those are some of the approaches. And for a smaller emerging founding group, somebody that's looking to scale, I wouldn't focus on resume. It's culture, right? It's, are you the worker I need you to be for this job, for this result, for what we're shooting for? And have you done this before? And if not, that's okay. But do you have the right attitude? Do you have the right mindset? Are we going to be able to work closely and get through the tough times together? That'd be my approach. I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, when you focus on the resume, it's going to burn you.
Dude, I couldn't agree more, man. The resume, we've all interviewed that one candidate that can recite their resume. And
Yeah,
I improved this by 41%. And I did this by 27%. I'm like, oh my God, how are they surviving without you?
right,
You must have
right.
been the messiah.
Oh, wait
That,
a minute. They
gosh.
are. The doors are open, lights are on, right?
Yeah, wow, it's crazy, right? So I think the same thing in a restaurant. The full service restaurants, I would always make it a point, even at a new restaurant open, let's try to find at least 50% of the servers that have never been servers before. So they have no baggage. They don't have when I was at blah, blah, blahs, here's how we did it. It's like, no, are you nice? Are you fun? Do you smile genuinely and naturally? Are you a hospitality person? And in a support role, it's crazy because support teams, as you know, man, the bigger the corporate side gets, they tend to look at themselves as their own entity versus really truly being an expense category. They generate no revenue. Your revenue is your franchisees or whomever, like that's your customer. So, dude, I love it. Cool, great answer, brother.
Yeah, man. All right. So for you, Uh, you know, I'd just say for the audience, because I think it's pretty well known, I've been a fanboy of you for a long, long time. I was
Sure.
following
Thank you.
you and your results at, walk-ons and throughout your career, because I'm a culture guy and I want to be better at building culture. And I just know that that creates resilience and long-term success and amplifies success because the longer you can keep people that are bought in, the better results you're going to get. And you guys just knock it out of the park. But now you're in this different kind of environment with these multiple brands. And like we talked about earlier, you got to try to translate how to build culture across multiple brands at the same time. So thinking back on, your history, what's one leadership lesson in managing teams and culture that you wish you could have told yourself 10 years ago that you know now that just is tried and true now? What's the biggest growth area you still have as a CEO? And how are you trying to get there? It's never done, right? You're never all at the top. You're never the guru of gurus, right?
Yeah.
So thinking back, what do you know now you wish could have told yourself 10 years ago? And then what areas you still have to grow?
So I think my biggest opportunities today still is to let people skin their knees and bloody their nose and not try to be the guy to protect. Even as a CEO and you want people to grow, like I'm not a spotlight guy, man. I think spotlight burns you. You got to get through it super quick and get in the warmth on the outside and push the emerging leaders into the spotlight so they'll grow. But I tend to probably want to make sure they don't stumble. So, and that's not micromanage. That's not get in front of it. It's just kind of like, whisper, hey, there's a pothole. There's a pothole ahead. Watch out. Versus
Yep.
like, hit the freaking pothole. Oh my God, that sucked. Learn from that because I know I grew up falling down, skinning my knees, busting my elbows, learning through mistakes. And I think it made me a better leader. I tend to probably, maybe it's the dad in me that I want to protect a little bit more. And I think, when I get out of the way that way. there seems to be a much stronger, more resilient leader because they got a bloody nose or something happened that they just really screwed up. I had a great mentor that would start every meeting with just go around the room and talk about what you screwed up this week. And I thought it was awesome because it just
Yep.
diffused all the tension in the room. Like, oh my God, I'm behind on this, or this bad thing happened. Like, just throw it on the table because we all realize we can fix it. Nothing is not fixable. So, um, I think a little more of that, man. Almost creating like situations where, like there's something bad, not bad, but you know what I mean? Like you're gonna hit a crossword, you got to make a big decision. And like because the more scars and just battle time you have, the better leader you're gonna be. And I feel like, the guys like you and I, we fought through that stuff, right? And I tend to try to nurture a little more, and I gotta like back out of that. But it comes from a good place. It's not me wanting to be in. Truly, I want zero credit for anything. I'd like to be the guy behind the curtain that just has amazing people that do all the work, and I'm just like feeding them, making them a margarita or grilled cheese because you're hungry. Like I don't want to be part of anything. I just want to be the guy behind the scenes. But that's probably the biggest lesson I continue to think about, and I do wish, because I've had, leaders on the team. Hey, how did you get to be where you are? What did you do? I'm like, I always put myself in uncomfortable positions. I did the job nobody else wanted to do. Like they wanted to, if I was running a restaurant, take over this crappy restaurant. Nobody wants it. I'll do it. And I would get there and tell the team, hey, I picked to come here. You don't suck. We're gonna kill it. But I don't always follow that advice when it came down to being the leader, saying, why you tell me to go where there's smoke? Because there's a fire there too, and you're going to get burnt for a second. Just make sure you don't catch on fire, but feel what it's like to feel the heat a little bit
Yeah.
so you know how to make sure that there's not a fire again. That makes sense?
Dude, I lived it this weekend, grand opening of the very first new pepper lunch in North America in 7 years. Uh, our global leadership group was here, operations group was here from Singapore. All eyes were on us. I absolutely let the team be the team and do the team's job. And absolutely, things fell through cracks and the wrong decisions were made. And actually, to your point, my leaders picked up the bag rather than hand the bag to the ownership group. So we were the safety net. And for a couple of days, we were a safety net that if we weren't there, who knows? But at the end of the weekend, I told Mark and he's planning on telling his team, etc. Hey, that's not our job. We failed them. We needed to lead them to lead their people. We need to set expectations and make sure that they were doing their job to check checklists. And my one of my head trainers was running around the store with the digital iPad checklist, the checklist on his back, and he was the one checking date codes and rotating and stuff. I was like, no, 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 dude, they need to do that. We're not going to be here on Sunday. Like they need to do that. So we're going back to the drawing board. We have two more openings in 3 weeks from now, and we've got to make sure that our franchisees have prepped their managers have prepped their teams. And I think we focused too much on the little stuff. We focused on the measuring and building. We focused on the do A, then do B, then do C, rather than sort of the step back and be that leader and be that sort of overwatch, right? And hey, me and my team have opened over 1,000 restaurants in our career
Yeah.
collectively, and you still show up and you still forget to say something, or you forget you didn't do that thing, or you do what we just said is get in there and get in there with that safety net and save their butt.
Yeah.
It's better to let them skin their nose.
It
So,
is, man. I had in the walk-ons days opening those restaurants, after the first couple, and we were opening corporate restaurants, franchise restaurants, and the trainers, inevitably, VIP night or opening day, they get that pop, and all of a sudden the trainers are on the line and the new employees
yep,
are
it's
watching.
exactly what happened.
Right. So what did we accomplish today? We demoralized our new team because we set them up to fail, and you became the cooks. So I can remember it was after we opened Shreveport. All the trainers had to have a spoon in their hand all the time. and it pissed him off. Like, I can't, I got a spoon, whatever. And it was a big spoon. You got to carry the spoon the whole time because you can't go work the grill.
I
I
love
have to hold
that.
this stupid spoon. And they would do it all the time. So they had to talk them through it. They had to talk them through it. Here you go. All right, you're starting to get, you're getting behind. You jump over here and help him pick up on fry because that's where we're getting the crush. They had to manage and direct, but they couldn't do it. Same thing in the server side in the front of the house. You know, in a full service deal, they had to, wasn't a spoon. I forget what they held. Might have been an order book or something. They had
All
something
right,
in
mine's gonna
their
be
hand.
chopsticks. Okay, got it.
Awesome job. Because they can't go jumping and doing it. They used to, oh, the trainers would get so mad. And then listen, there's that moment, right? Where like, okay, like we gotta let them feel the heat. Okay, we gotta jump in for a second, but like how fast can you get out? Okay, you're in for 4 minutes, get out quick now, put them back in. It's still hot. You can't take over because what happens when you leave on Sunday, right? They're going to get that pop again and they're going to crash and burn. The franchisee doesn't know how to do it. Same with the team leader. Like, no, no, no. The manager, franchisee, you need to go direct your team. They don't work for us. They work for you. You know, this
Yep.
one's not paying
Well,
it.
I'll
This
tell
is
you,
on their phone. Did you see
our
that?
entire team left on Saturday afternoon. That was it. You know what? As far as I can tell, the store opened yesterday and it served people and it's still there today. So
Yes.
if I
There you
walked
go.
in there right now, would there be some sauce bottles that need to be wiped down and refilled, or would there be a counter that's probably, got some stuff on it we wouldn't, whatever. Are they
Yeah.
out of something that they're trying scrambling this morning to go pick up at Cisco and get prepped? Yeah, probably, but they survived, right? At the end of
Yeah.
the day. I love that spoon idea. I don't know, chopsticks too easy to stick in your pocket, but I like the big spoon. Maybe I'll
Something that's
get the
just
big
bulky
spoon.
that just
I
pisses them
love
off.
it.
They
I love
can't.
it.
Oh. But
Make them carry it
after a couple
around
of
and they
them, they
can't
get
do
it.
anything. Love it.
Exactly. They can't do anything. Cool. What you got? You got to
Well,
open.
we got a wild card round we got to knock out here, and these are up to us to make up on the fly. We weren't allowed to pre-prep those questions.
Yeah,
I've got a really important one for you.
sure.
I think it's going to bring a lot of value to the restaurant industry, um, especially young people, making a decision about their future today. Why did you pick the wrong college? Why didn't you go to the University of Miami?
So, number one,
And
actually,
by the way, by extension, why'd you let your children do it too?
you know what's so crazy? When I applied to all those colleges in Florida, they all accepted me except for University of Florida. Isn't that crazy?
That
So
is crazy.
it is. So it's the only reason I went to UF because they didn't accept me. So that pissed me off, and so I ended up going to UF. I grew up in Virginia, so I just picked a spot where it was warm. And then somebody told me Gainesville's near the beach. Big lie. Probably should have gone to Miami. But
It's near a beach that's got alligators in it. It's called the
yeah,
swamp.
yeah, kind
Yeah.
of swampy, right? So what was your question? How to get to Florida? Florida's awesome,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
Why did you pick the wrong college? All right. So for the audience, I'm third generation diehard Miami Hurricane. In Florida, there's really only three major schools that most people are aware of: University of Miami, University of Florida Gators, and Florida State University Seminoles. And the
Yeah.
Canes are unique in that we hate both the Gators and the Seminoles equally. If you ask a Gator or a Seminole about Miami, they say at least you're not the other one. So all they care about
So
Florida and
I will
Florida State.
say we hate the Seminoles more than we hate the Hurricanes. If
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
into,
that's what I mean. And Miami's
yeah,
unique in that we hate both of you equally.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
exactly.
just
Well, we
wanted to
all
know
hate
why
each
you
other
and
to
your
some
family
degree.
chose the wrong school.
So my wife and I went to Florida. My daughter goes to Florida State, so like she's
Yeah,
the
that's even
extricated.
weirder.
We're not sure what's wrong with her, but she's wicked smart. So I don't know, man. You know, I think all the Florida schools, if you looked at those three, they're amazing universities, like from a very diverse way they serve, from medical to hospitality to law. Um, my daughter's an astrophysics major. My son is majoring in hospitality. He wants to get in this business and he's getting
Yep.
a law degree. So I don't
Well, if
know.
they were in sports, they'd go to Miami.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
for
oh, of
sure.
course, right. Yeah. Unless it was basketball, man. Florida's
Well,
off
we
the
we
second
we
number one
cracked the
team this
16
week.
last year, but yeah, never get much past that 16 number, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. That's
All right,
awesome.
what's your wild card question? What are you pulling out of the
So
sky?
I won't throw down on the hurricane question. What made you pick the hospitality industry? You know, being a third generation University of Miami guy, great school, great place to get an education. Did you grow up as a kid saying, "Mom, Dad, I want to be in the restaurant business," or did you fall
Um,
into
you
it
know,
like a lot of us?
Sort of at times. My dad had a couple of construction companies, and one of them did specialize in bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. I tell this story all the time. I think it's just because he wanted to be the VIP once it was done that could get free drinks because he just loved a good party.
Yeah.
And so I grew up on the construction site. So I thought I was going to be an architect. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to pick that up and do that. And then Hurricane Andrew wiped my house away and took a 3 year blueprint that I was building my dream home, test project. My dad had taught me drafting and everything. I had a drafts table, and it really just it crushed me. And growing up, he threw a lot of parties at home. We had a lot of house parties, and I spent a lot of time in the kitchen learning how to roll up ham and use toothpicks to make cheese blocks and things like that. And so I loved to cater. I loved the idea of throwing a party, being the host. And so I decided to pivot and go to culinary school at 17. I went to community college and culinary school at the same time, and then I went to University of Miami and got my business degree. And I was born to be an entrepreneur. Everybody in my family was an entrepreneur. I didn't know anybody in my family that had a real job, like a clock in, clock out W-2 job. And so it just was always calling on me in the business side of it more than the hospitality side, more than so I cooked for 6 years, wouldn't change it for the world. Love the understanding the back of the house. I think to be a well-rounded anybody in this business, you got to spend time on both sides of that line and understand it. But from a business standpoint, I spent more time as a kitchen manager than a chef, and understanding the finances and the scheduling and, labor management. And so it all just sort of came together. It just was a ladder to climb. It was a track to take of information and education that I was really curious about. So I wanted to see all of it. I've been on super yachts. I've been in luxury Michelin star restaurants. I've run some of the highest end private clubs in America. I turned around Caribbean resorts. I've done food and beverage at corporate hotels. I just wanted to experience all of it, right? A year or two, 18 months at everything just to understand this business full stop all the way around. And so it kind of chose me. I've tried a couple of times. I left for 5 years and went to Procter and Gamble. I got some phenomenal experience in leadership and marketing and how to build a brand. So that all applies today and makes, it's why you see me on LinkedIn and blah, blah, blah,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So yeah, just, it just kind of, it just happened, right? I didn't really seek it out necessarily, but one thing led to another. I just kept asking questions about the next opportunity in the business and have been all over the world with it. And here we are sitting in the chair. And, and my leadership style is I'm at the bottom of that pyramid. I'm holding the team up. I've got to give them tools, resources, knowledge, and express our experience and bring them experience from outside and perspective from
Dude, you
outside.
said it perfect there. So you're at the
Yeah.
bottom of the pyramid. Same here, man. It's like it's
Yeah.
all about supporting the team. I didn't realize. So we were in Miami for Hurricane Andrew and Kendall, and
Yeah.
so that was
We
a
moved from
disruptive.
Kendall to just north of Homestead, uh, right before like 2 months before the hurricane. Had we stayed in Kendall, we would have had some rain and lost some power. It would have been fine. Instead, my house was 4 feet tall when it was over. We
Yeah,
were
we
we
were
were
in the
three
hammocks, and then
blocks from the ocean,
oh my
so
gosh, we were in the
we
hammocks,
took the
and then
water.
I was in Cutler Ridge after that, trying
Yep.
to open a restaurant where the mall had been leveled. But it's
Yep.
funny, Hurricane Andrew was so bad, I actually was going to go back to Florida and get my law degree. So Hurricane Andrew pushed me to want to get out of the restaurant
Yeah.
business. It was a nightmare to run a restaurant in Miami after that with all you remember, it was
Yeah.
curfew zone serving chicken salad by the scoop with the
So
National Guard out in front.
this
Just
is
keep,
fun because of the Bennigan's comeback that's going on. Our
yeah.
friend
The
Greg just
Bennigan's on
interviewed.
Kendall
Yeah.
Drive was the first bar opened. We were right down the street from that Bennigan's.
So guess what? I was the kitchen manager at that Bennigan's during Hurricane Andrew. First restaurant and bar, first food and beverage business with the lights on outside of the military, zone, the swath zone. We were the first one to have electricity, and I was the kitchen manager of that Bennigan's. We were on a 2 hour wait from open to close, 7 days a week for months.
You were there.
Basically, the same families would come every day or 3 days a week. Like you'd see the same people because literally it was the only place to go get a hot meal.
So I was running the JJ's American Diner just on the other side from you by the town center. And we
Unbelievable.
were open 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then we would go to Bennigan's and get drinks, but then the curfew was at 6. So you had to go back to
Unbelievable.
hotel. Then I was in FEMA trailer in Cutler Ridge. How funny. So,
Wow. Look, we just as long as we've known each other and we get together, now we just sit down and have a chat and look what we find out. It's
I'm
amazing.
telling you, man, that Bennigan's was a lifesaver. I remember it very, very well. So, yeah, man, I think takeaways, if anybody's listening, look at your team for your future leaders. I always think that there are guys like, Troy went to culinary school and kind of figured this out, but still, waffled which way do you want to get in it? But I always feel like the restaurant industry is the first place or first job for a lot of people, and they always feel like they got to leave and go find something outside of it instead of realizing there's such an amazing path from traveling the world, culinary wise, working on yachts and resorts to running a franchise company to working, in M&A and multiple brands. And there's so many things you can do. It's not just about, frying shrimp or serving or bartending. This industry covers everything. And so
Absolutely.
just
Yeah,
looking
my
at
the
what,
takeaway I want to amplify from what you said is one of the most important things you can do is empower your people, right?
yeah,
Tell them that those who ask the most questions get the most answers, right? I always tell my teams, especially new teams, when I walk in, it was a takeover, turnaround, whatever, is look, there's 150 of you here or whatever it is, the three of you that ask the most questions and raise your hand and want to take on those projects and will do the hard thing and genuinely want to learn, that's who I'm going to put my attention. I can't give each one of you 150 of you the same exact amount of attention, right? I gotta empower those who want to be empowered and take the reins and run with it. So yeah, empowering your people, letting them skin their nose and
yep.
learn from those lessons, picking them up, being there to then give them the sort of the resources after the fact. That's what
Thinking
I think
like,
is
I
phenomenal.
remember someone's like, "Oh, looking for people to step up." Well, you're actually stepping up on a ladder. How's the ladder? It's stepping up on the first rung of the ladder,
Yeah,
dude. Step up, put yourself out there. Boom, 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 boom.
exactly.
When you get to the top, realize you're back at the bottom. All you're doing is you're holding the ladder for other people.
That's
You're just
right.
you're
No, I
holding
like
the
that
ladder so
analogy.
nobody falls
Yeah,
off.
yeah, I like that analogy. Well, it's
Dude,
been
good
great,
catching
Scott.
up, man.
Thanks for the chat, my
Absolutely.
friend.
See you in a couple days, brother.
See you at the next one.